What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Thursday, March 10th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 2-game slate here tonight. We got some good studs on this slate, but we also got some good value plays. So let's take a look at the point guard position. I like Jordan Poole from the Golden State Warriors playing the Denver Nuggets, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Jordan Poole has averaged 28 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 25% usage rate. He's projected at 28.6 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.5 times value. He's only $5,200 DraftKings salary. Now he is $1,100 more on FanDuel, so I love that DraftKings price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 220.5 points scored in this game, and Jordan Poole has scored 34, 50, and 35 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 29, 34, and 32 minutes. So I like Jordan Poole, who scored 50 fantasy points in his last game versus the Nuggets, here versus the Denver Nuggets. Now, another value play or low salary play at the point guard position that I like is Monte Morris from the Denver Nuggets playing the Golden State Warriors, who have a good defense overall and they've been good versus opposing point guards. But Monte Morris has averaged 25.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with an 18% usage rate. He's projected at 25.4 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.4 times value. He's $4,700 DraftKings salary, $700 more on FanDuel, so I prefer that DraftKings price, but I could play him on FanDuel as well. And Monte Morris has scored 35, 38, and 36 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 29, 31, and 36 minutes. So he's been on fire, and he scored 38 and 28 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the Warriors. So I like Monte Morris here versus the Golden State Warriors. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. So here's a stud pick for you. The studs that I'm going to play on this slate are pretty obvious, but they are in great spots and the salary's not out of control. So I like James Harden from the Philadelphia 76ers playing the Brooklyn Nets, who have the 10th worst defense overall, give up the 8th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. James Harden also eligible at the point guard position, and he's averaging 52.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 37 minutes per game with a 29% usage rate. He is projected at 52.4 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value, and he's $10,400 DraftKings salary, $200 less on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 229.5 points scored in this game, and James Harden has scored 48 and 48 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 38 and 35 minutes, and he has crushed the Brooklyn Nets, scoring 77, 53, 86, and 52 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Nets. So I like James Harden here versus the Brooklyn Nets. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won, and we'll send you $25 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. So here's a value play that I think is interesting. Take a look at Bruce Brown from the Brooklyn Nets playing the Philadelphia 76ers, who have a good defense overall, middle of the pack defending opposing small forwards. Bruce Brown, he's only averaging 18.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 22 minutes per game with a 14% usage rate. But take a look at his last 3 games. Increased minutes and increased production. He scored 38, 36, and 38 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 27, 29, and 32 minutes. So if he's going to get 27 to 32 minutes in this game, he's got a good chance at exceeding 5 times value. I think he can score 25 fantasy points or more in this matchup. If he can get those minutes, he's $5,100 DraftKings salary, but he is $1,800 more on FanDuel, so this would probably be a DraftKings play only for me. So I like Bruce Brown on DraftKings. A little bit of risk with this play. I think he's playing a little bit above his normal, what you expect out of him. But if he's going to play 27 or more minutes, then I like this pick on DraftKings. So I like Bruce Brown on DraftKings here versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, if you're looking for a super value play here, take a look at Moses Moody from the Golden State Warriors playing the Denver Nuggets. He's getting a little extra playing time here because of the injury to Otto Porter Jr. And Moses Moody scored 27 and 38 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 29 and 36 minutes. He's only $3,500 DraftKings salary. He's $800 more on FanDuel. So I think he's an interesting dart throw or value play. I mean, if he's going to play 29 to 36 minutes in this game, I will take him at $3,500 DraftKings salary. So I like Moses Moody here versus the Denver Nuggets. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. Here's another stud pick. I like Kevin Durant from the Brooklyn Nets playing the Philadelphia 76ers. Kevin Durant has averaged 50 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 37 minutes per game with a 31% usage rate. He's projected at 50.8 fantasy points here tonight. That's just about 5 times value. He's $10,300 DraftKings salary, 100 more on FanDuel. We know Vegas thinks there's going to be 229.5 points scored in this game. Kevin Durant has scored 26, 61, and 44 fantasy points in his last 3 games, playing 39, 38, and 35 minutes. And Durant has scored 48, 62, and 72 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the 76ers. I could see James Harden and Kevin Durant going at it, going back and forth, both putting up some monster numbers here. So I am interested in a lineup with both of these guys and then using some of those value plays to fill out the lineup. So I like Kevin Durant here versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, moving on to the center position. Another stud pick on this slate. He is in a great spot. I like Joel Embiid from the Philadelphia 76ers playing the Brooklyn Nets. Now, I think you could go like James Harden and Kevin Durant, or James Harden and Joel Embiid. Maybe have a lineup with both of those combinations in it and then fill it out with those value plays. That's a pretty fun slate we got going on here tonight, and it's going to be a fun game to watch. So, Joel Embiid from the Philadelphia 76ers playing the Brooklyn Nets, who have the 10th worst defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing centers. Joel Embiid has averaged 55.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 33 minutes per game with a 37% usage rate. He's projected at 58 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.4 times value. He's $10,800 DraftKings salary. Same price on FanDuel. And Joel Embiid has scored 75, 47, and 44 fantasy points in the last 3 games. Played 36 minutes in all of those games. And I like this pick because Joel Embiid, he's had some good success versus the Nets. Scored 53, 54, 47, 64, and 53 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Brooklyn Nets. And I will never forget Joel Embiid because a couple years ago, he was in one of my lineups and I was in first place. I was going to win No, he wasn't in my lineup. I was in first place. I was going to win $100,000. I was up in that. It was like the last game. It was a night game. And I was playing the lineup that I was competing against that was gaining on me had Joel Embiid in the lineup. I had like 8 points over that guy. So I just needed, and it was like the 4th quarter, and Joel Embiid and the 76ers, they were up by like 25 points, and I had like 8 points on it. I was going to win $100,000, and they didn't take out Joel Embiid from the game. They let him play the whole 4th quarter in a blowout, and then that year, the 76ers went to the playoffs, and they had to sit Joel Embiid because the guy was so tired because they just totally ran the guy out throughout the season, playing him in blowouts. It was unbelievable. I'll never forget it. So Joel Embiid, I think he's in a great spot here versus the Brooklyn Nets. Now, just real quick before we move on, if you are looking for a value play at the center position, like let's say you play Kevin Durant and James Harden, you want to save some salary at the center position, take a look at Kevon Looney from the Golden State Warriors playing the Denver Nuggets, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing centers. Kevon Looney is averaging 21.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 22 minutes per game with a 13% usage rate. He's projected at 21.9 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.4 times value. He's only $4,100 DraftKings salary, $600 more on FanDuel. Looks like FanDuel has most of their players priced up. But Kevon Looney has scored 26 and 36 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 21 and 29 minutes. So I think he's an interesting play here, considering he'll get you over 5 times value, even if he just gets his season average in fantasy points. I think he's got some good upside in this matchup. So I like Kevon Looney as a value play here versus the Denver Nuggets. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.